something's going live. It may not be us. But it's like there's a live happening somewhere. Well, it says that's upcoming, which is quite annoying. Okay, how do I invite people to come? Streaming.
Oh, there we go.
Is it working? That's so crazy that we start with tech issues. Wait, I'm actually.
It looks like.
It looks like it's working, right? Okay. There's just a little bit of a lag, yeah, which totally makes sense. Alright, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just send out an email making sure that everyone confirms, dear
Viewers.
Dear potential viewers. Good afternoon. So excited to welcome you to Knoji's YouTube Live. Please, as for your convenience, here is the joining link. Alright, and then I'm just going to resend the link over to them. Hopefully it doesn't create too much of a confusion. Cool. Look it through. We're gonna do this recipients, and then we're gonna do this. Okay, now we're going to YouTube link to join the live stream. I did it. The GMAT's gone out. Yay! And clearly there's one watching now. Started streaming 109 seconds ago.
Is that us?
Yeah, that's us, right? Okay. That's so fine. Okay. Well, no, that's all good. That's all right. It's just the ceiling. It's just the ceiling. I have a little suspicious feeling. Also, just to set expectations, there's obviously the chance that no one will come, which is fine, by the way, because it'll just be recorded, and then we will just use it for other content. Yeah, so no stress.
I feel more relaxed.
No one's here. It's just us. We're watching ourselves change. There's absolutely no stress. No, but see, that's not open. Yeah. We're streaming on.
Maybe you should send the link of this one into the chat of the other one.
There's no chat for the other one. Yeah, because it's made for kids. So we're still actually at a
Also, did you just stream on the channel?
Yeah, I must have. The live stream.
The prep stream is not.
No, the pre-prepared live stream is not working well. Live viewers are 2, so there's 2 people now. I have to say, this is quite stressful. Which is, I wonder what's going on. Oh well.
If it's not like a.
Well, no, I think in the end, ultimately, there's 3 people watching now, so clearly people are have received our email, which is really good. So we clearly ran into just a technical issue very, very early on. So it's not perfect, but that's totally fine. This actually helps us do something else though, which is if I can add a new extra camera. I can actually add this camera. And guys, can you just sit up here now? Because I'm actually going to do a 2-camera setup. That will help us get a little bit more space, and yeah, it'll be good. You guys can come like a lot. A lot. Okay. All right. Let me try and get it all lined up. Oh.
We need to leave some surprises.
No. It's all good for now. It's all good for now. I really wish this was less prickly. No, it's all good. Okay, perfect. So we are live. Oh my goodness. It started off with a little bit of stress, but we're here now. You know, that's what it's all about. So let's get started. Just to break the awkwardness that's in the room, because I think everyone in the room was also a little bit stressed about what was going on. Just a little bit. How are we muted?
I think
No, we're not.
we can hear us.
Yeah.
We can hear.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, great. Great. So after lots of stress, we're finally here. And to be honest, I feel quite apologetic because I don't think everyone is going to figure out where the new link is. I do apologize. It's my first time running a YouTube live, and there was only so many things. Like, I tried everything. I thought everything was set up correctly, but clearly it was not perfect. But to break the ice, just to get rid of this really tense atmosphere, you know how they did a research where it's like when humans smell each other's like sweat and like they're stressed out, they can all figure out like it apparently smells different because yeah,
I did not know.
yeah, because
Okay.
it's social animals. Oh, it's the tension, it's the stress. Okay, so let's kind of start by introducing ourselves. Let's do name, current degree, which was all on the marketing material, but name, current degree, and let's do. Well, we did dirty tricks the time we were doing our own meeting, but let's do something a little bit different. What about what is your top subject and which subject you'll be able to bring the most insight into today? Let's do that. All right. So my name is Anki. I'm one of the directors at Knoji, and also used to call myself a tech aficionado. Not today. And my subject expertise, to be honest, I think I was on average a pretty decent student. That's not very humble. No, I think the subject I probably had the most robust study plan for was the sciences, for sure.
Okay.
Like, I think content heavy stuff, especially biology, I got a 96. Like, it was very straightforward to me to try and figure out biology.
Hey, James. I'm from the content team, which is a little bit different from these guys here. I'm currently studying a double degree in law and psychology at UNSW. My strongest subject was probably English. Like a little bit of a genuine passion. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Love genuine passion.
My name is Kahan, just like James. I'm studying at UNSW. I'm doing a Bachelor's of Data Science and Decisions. Unlike James, which was not my strong subject at all. It was maths, so I think I'm valued for that subject. Yeah.
Love that.
It's Tanmay. So a tutor here at Knoji. I study currently at UNSW. I do business and actuary. So I think the strongest subject for me would also have to be maths.
Yeah, what would be your second one if you had to pick one?
Maybe economics.
Economics, love that. Actually, we don't actually talk about economics a lot here, so that actually gives us quite a bit of range, I would say. I didn't share my degree. Like, I graduated a long time ago, but I did graduate from Western Sydney University. Century past. I would have to say that I'm much better now in terms of just like time management and all that kind of stuff. So I think I have a lot of insight, maybe not necessarily from high school, like maybe not necessarily just from high school, but more so really what happened afterwards as well. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. So let's get started. We actually, the way that today's going to run, we have some slides kind of that will give us a bit of direction in terms of what we're talking about. But then most of it is, you know, like this is what I said to everyone already, which is like we get theory all the time, right? We get theory thrown at us. Like no matter where you go, you'll find tips and tricks on how to study properly. Like, that's not a secret anymore. But the thing is, what does execution look like, right? Like how come it's so easy to see the theory but not necessarily apply it? So the value of today, really, what we're trying to provide to everyone is more so just like what does it look like in practice? What are some stories that you have about each aspect of experience, of the study experience? How did you guys get band sixes in those subjects that you're really confident in? And then we'll be mixing it up with a little bit of a higher level theory, so everyone also walks away with some concepts as well. So I'm going to start with the theory. So I'm sharing my screen now. And essentially, well, first of all, I thought there wasn't going to be a chat because they didn't let us have a chat because it was like for kids. But then I think with this stream, it's now actually open to the public, so technically there's a chat now. However, for those of you who have thankfully been able to join this, you know, again, if you just joined, I do apologize for the tech difficulty, but if you have a question, you can also use the QR code we have on the screen right now because we're also running which is like a anonymous Q&A platform. So if you have a question about anything at any time, please scan this QR code. Now we're going to start with the first concept, and I think because you guys can't see my screen, you can definitely have a look at the slide over here. That's like this is the printout of what I'm showing on the screen right now. And essentially, no matter what you're trying to do, it's actually very simple to succeed. Simple in the sense that it's easy to conceive of how it happens, not necessarily the execution. Right? It's hard to get there. It's like the process is obvious in the sense that success is essentially consistency times multiplied by the correct method or the good method. Because there's multiple correct methods, but there's definitely bad methods and there's definitely wrong methods, right? So for example, if your dream is to get real swole and huge and bulked up, you know, consistency means showing up to the gym every single day or eating a particular way. And a good method means that you're actually exercising your muscles. I've definitely done some suspicious stuff at the gym where I've done it. I'm like, oh, I thought this was supposed to work my biceps. Why is my shoulder hurting? That's lost. No. So I'm clearly no way being a bodybuilder anytime soon. But today we're going to be breaking it down in terms of consistency. Is going to be talking about everyone. Big part of the question was procrastination, distraction, social media. How do we overcome? How do we stay disciplined? How do we stay motivated? And then the other half is the good method, which is study method. How do I take notes, right? How do we, create actually study plan is more discipline, but it's just how am I studying correctly? How do I study? Do I use flashcards? So we're going to talk about that in the second half. And then finally, in the third half, we'll be addressing some of the other questions that didn't really fit into any of these things. Like some students ask about subject selection. I might do a really quick little thing about that. And then also we've had some parents who ask, how can a parent help? And I think that's such a great question. And I think it takes so much humility to ask that question. And I think from our perspective, we want to help unpackage that a little bit. Because we're not parents. We're not parents. I'm not a parent. So I think we do offer this perspective where we are a little bit further on that continuum of being an adult, but we're still remember what it's like for parents.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with the discipline piece. And the main questions we got were, how do you stop procrastination? How to stop being distracted by TikTok? How can you focus better? How to make a study plan? Or someone wanted to see the example of a study plan. I'm actually going to show you one. How to overcome setbacks. So for example, you get a really low mark. What do you do then? Mindset stuff, right? How do you stay on top of the stress kind of thing? So starting with procrastination and distraction, let's ask some questions around the room. So here's how this works, right? So essentially, if you agree, right? Yes, no. Okay, so if you agree, if you don't agree, okay. I think staying disciplined is 100% about self-control. Oh no! Wait. Clearly, okay. Can you please speak on that? I love that. So I love that there's one person who, because I was also well, what does self-control mean to you?
I think self-control is just something I need to do.
Mm.
I have to do it. Do I have enough control on my instincts or my how to put it on my own mind to just, instead of maybe doing something that's more convenient or easy to do, just do the difficult thing and sit down and practice or study or go to the gym, even like something like that. And I think that's what this one really does come down to. I kind of control my mind to do the difficult stuff. Yeah.
That's that. Have you always been like quite a person of self-control?
I would say probably closer to the second half of senior high school, so more like year 12 onwards. I think I was like that.
Yeah.
I guess first year of uni,
Yeah.
kind of tapered down a bit, but then recently I've got back into that whole self-control. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we're definitely going to talk to the rest of us about how do we cope with not necessarily having all the self-control in our bodies. But let's focus on behind. Like I'm so curious. So like for example, where do you find that self-control? Do you have a story where you were able to resist doing something because of your self-control and you were able to stay disciplined? Like let's just say in high school, year 11 and 12. Like what were did you have like a phone? Did you have like that kind of stuff?
I did have a phone. I had social media. At that time, I was kind of not into TikTok, which I feel like is, to be fair, a pretty big advantage, like self-control at that time. Because when I was in high school, TikTok was kind of more of a newer thing, more of a trend and everything. I think it would have been fairly easy for me to get back into it because the first time I just didn't get stuck into it. But I definitely still had distractions and everything. But you know, I can take like an example of studying for an assessment for math, like an exam. Very easily, I think I could have just not, put in the work incrementally throughout the week leading up to the exam, but I did. I made sure that
Built different.
I made sure
built different.
I made sure that I did at least a little bit of something. Obviously, some days I had no motivation, and in that day, I guess 2 questions is enough. But I get into a bit of a rhythm. I think you can do 2 more after that, and then you might finish the chapter of questions, maybe.
I think starting is the most important.
Yeah. Just getting to the seat and just doing it.
You know what? I hear that. And honestly, I actually quite agree with that, despite me not necessarily agreeing that it's fully self-control. Have you guys heard of the Kimmy Schmidt? Oh, okay. 10-second summary. Basically, it's like a girl who was like held captive by it's a comedy, held captive by this like religious fanatic, like a Mormon, and then essentially just like he started a cult, and then he was basically trying to trick these women into just like becoming his slaves by telling them that there's an apocalypse outside, so they were stuck living in this bunker, but really he was telling them to move this crank to generate him free electricity, like that kind of stuff. Like he didn't want to pay for electricity, so he was just like, right, let me start a cult to women that like there's an apocalypse outside, and then now they have to rotate this crank every day so that I get free electricity. And there's a place where this is going, which is essentially it's just like they were just asking, Kimmy Schmidt is like, how did you even survive that? Like, how did you even find the will to go on? Like, you can do 10 of anything, So then I count to 10, and then I count to another 10, and you can always get through 10 of anything. So it was quite motivational. I wouldn't say it's a good situation though, but
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So it's like you sit down, you at least do 2, and then that becomes 4.
I guess at the same
Yeah.
time, I really did enjoy math.
Uh,
I like a decent bit. I did. That definitely helped.
well, let's flip it. So what about a subject you didn't?
I
How did you
I
say
couldn't
this?
bring myself to study a lot, so I kind of just I did the bare minimum every day. Like just get it done, get it out of the way, and then I'll do something that I actually enjoy. Like that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you push yourself through that then? Is that so? I mean, we don't want this to be a story of you only have discipline for a subject you like, because then
Yeah,
technically
no,
that's not discipline. It's like I love going to the gym, therefore, this is not hard for me.
I mean, near the end, I guess I kind of just I was like, well, I'm not gonna fail English. That's my so I kind of just sat down, wrote an essay,
Yeah,
got feedback, thought about the feedback, incorporated it, wrote another essay.
yeah.
The process, rinse and repeat. I think one more thing, actually, I guess knowing what the process is, like, having like a rhythm, I think is all it is. Like, knowing what you're supposed to be doing every single iteration, that's also quite important.
Yeah. Okay, so having a plan.
Having a plan.
Having a plan really helps.
Yeah.
Okay, so having a plan helps with discipline. What about the ones who didn't necessarily agree with discipline equals 100% self-control? Like, what did you think?
It's weird because I totally agree with the method. Even the definition of self-control, I totally agree with. But it's like I think there's like a circumstantial element always that like say I go to study and it's like I go in and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. If I have all these things around me, my friend, it becomes harder and harder. That self-control element becomes more and more variable.
I hear that. Okay. So it's like the more things that you have stacked against you, the less likely it is that you're gonna. How did you hold yourself back from using all your devices?
Normally, I would just. I would put really far away from me. That was distracting.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I would honestly just delete distracting applications of software. That would be a lot.
I think when you say discipline, it's more of like a mindset. Whereas like self-control, even if you do have moments where things go difficult, that doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't disciplined. That's just like a bit of a dip in your like journey.
Okay.
So if we're like talking definitions, I don't think necessarily 100% self-control means okay, you're not disciplined. I think it's part of the process.
How did you stay not distracted?
I think a big factor was I did not have social media, but there was also a downside to it. So while that did obviously having very good talk, I say now that I have it, I cannot see how that's very, very distracting, and I would not have been able to cope in year 12.
Yeah.
But also not having it made me look to other things like YouTube to kind of fill that void. And then because I didn't know how to manage it properly, it definitely did cause me to go a little bit off track. As for like the positive side of it, or coming away from them, I think staying on track with my friends a lot and just seeing what they were up to and going along with them and helped me to maintain that. That was kind of my other distraction, but it was a bit more beneficial distraction compared to just watching YouTube all day long.
So your friends also like were a big motivator for you
Picking
as well.
productive distractions was better than I would say. Yeah.
Why would you call them a productive distraction? I'm quite curious.
So especially touching on something that I didn't like to study, so English, then I would say, okay, why don't I study this subject with my friends? So what that would do is not only did I get to have a conversation with them, but then we would kind of get to talk about the subject as well. So then in my mind, I would kind of say, okay, well, at least you didn't watch YouTube for 3 hours and you decided to do this with your friends. So I would consider that a form of study to kind of help me push through and, I don't know, any sort of English practice.
That totally makes sense. I do think having friends. I think for me, like I honestly, I have a story, which is when I was in year 9, I bought myself an iPhone 4 on a plan because I started working at KFC. right? That was like first job,
Yeah.
amazing. And then in about a year and a half, I begged my dad to take it away from me. And I went back to a flip phone. And you can't really get distracted on a flip phone. Like you can, because you can text people. And back then, texting was distracting by the standards of what was available and out there, right? Because I also, I got the government provided laptops as well, the ThinkPads, and everything was blocked, which is great. Like to be honest, I think it was annoying before, but now I think back to it, it's like I'm really thankful because I just don't think a lot of the time when we want to stay disciplined, it's about having habits. And when you have habits that, like, it's like it would be really hard for me to essentially even build that habit if I had a distraction in the first place. Like I would have never won the first step, right? Like I would never be able to sit down to do those questions in the first place. Whereas because I was so dopamine deprived, I was like, what sounds fun? Homework. So I definitely think for anyone who's struggling to stay disciplined or struggling with their self-control, I think be a little nicer to yourself is what I would say. Like we're humans, we're literally wired to chase like dopamine. But I think if you're conscious of that and you still choose to have those dopamine rewarding things around you, that's a choice. That's no longer like you can't blame that on being human in that sense. Yeah.
I think rather than just taking it away completely though, because I mean everybody around you has that distraction. You know you can't cope with it. Then I think it's hard to kind of remove it from the picture, even though you need to. So maybe taking the responsibility to learning to manage it is also a better choice that you can make that distraction.
Totally hear that. Yeah. I think if anyone listening, there's only 8 people at the moment because I think of the tech issue. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. Really appreciate it. But I think if it's like you're in a lower grade, right? Like if you're year 7, 8, 9, and just starting to sort of pick up your studies, I definitely think it's good to like exercise making that choice. Because if you have a look at this graph, habits happen with repetition. So you have to repeatedly be able to like make the choice. It's almost like every single time you make that choice, you get a little bit more confident. Like, oh my God, actually I said no to social media today. And that's all because of me, which is quite empowering. And I think it is just empowering when, say, an external force takes something away from you because you're not actually learning from that experience. However, if you're in year 12 this year, if you're in year 12 right now, between your trials and your HSC, let us leave the self-control development for maybe in university. I think you should purge. You should purge. No more social. Just delete everything. Like how much FOMO can you really get the last month? You know what I mean? Exactly. Not a lot, right? What's going to happen? I think so. Yeah. I think so.
And I know we say that high school's a marathon, but at this point, it's a sprint.
It's a sprint.
You just gotta run.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
100%. Whatever you need to do, whether or not it's taking out your SIM card. Well, you shouldn't do that if your parents didn't call you, but maybe switching over to like a flip phone. I'm sure your parents have an old Motorola somewhere, just like buried deep. Having an ancient phone isn't that bad. Like people from the 90s, people born in the 90s all went through that. It was okay. We still grew up fine. But I think it's like if you're in year 12, you don't really have time. So how do you stay disciplined? Well, first of all, I think in summary, I think it's just if you like something, you're going to be more disciplined. If you don't like something, have a plan. And also, literally just do what you need to do. Make the right choice, right? Actually, we're dwelling on this a bit, but I think I'm always Tanmay, right? Yeah. Okay, I keep thinking I know what it is, and I always get really anxious when I say it wrong. What Tanmay was saying about connecting with her friends and her friends helping study different subjects. Actually, I think that connects to a really important point when you get into a little bit deeper, which is like how. It's always really hard to answer how do you do something. Like I really struggled getting ready because work is just so busy all the time, right? And it was always like, how do I do it, right? And you go online, you're like, oh, which recipes do I need to remember? How much like pre-made meals do I have to make for myself? But then this year, I was literally just messaging my friend. It's like, okay, so we're gonna work out 3 times a week, and I've just because it's not really about the how.
Yeah.
It's who.
It's who. It's so much who, and it's like, how do I eat the right stuff? Well, I mean, it depends on if you have the resources to do it, but I've just been ordering. It's good for it's like you just get it delivered. It's like my muscle chef, I think. Okay. I can't eat that much mashed potato. My muscle chef eats so much mashed potato. Yeah, it's really good. And now it's no longer how do I eat well. It's more like
Who am I going to?
Yeah, who am I gonna? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any instances like that where it's just like the method was not as important as the right people?
So I've had it, obviously. Communities are just small. Like when I was studying, when we went to the library after weeks, not only did it foster like friendships and stuff, you kind of just get into the habit and you just get to like do the work. And it becomes super valuable, not only socially but academically. You get that boost as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the tutoring place I went to, I mean, I saw all these, people that were smarter than me and ahead of me in the math curriculum and everything, and that was like kind of like, oh, that's kind of lame. So that was a huge motivator, and then it was who I surrounded or who I was surrounded. But yeah,
I like that. Yeah, it's not like how do I stay motivated? It's who's gonna make me really motivated.
I think by trials period, most people are usually on the same page as you are in terms of motivation. So my friend, what we would do is like in the morning, before we sat down to study, we would send like a list of things that we were going to get done.
I love that.
I know. And then by the end of the day, we would kind of like check in on everyone and see what everybody got done. And it was just like a really cute thing that we like to do, kind of romanticizing that studying.
Yeah.
And doing it with your friends as well. And having friends that kind of share that same outlook as well is really important.
100%. I can't think of anything less helpful than like you trying your hardest and then someone near you is just like, oh, why are you trying so hard?
Yeah.
Are you trying to succeed or something? Yeah. Sorry. Which I think leads us perfectly to study plans, which is the fact that a good study plan, so this is the premise of the film, which is a study plan needs to be smart and also have systems for accountability. Because if you have a plan, it's great, but if you're not accountable to that plan, then the plan is just a piece of paper with a bunch of words on it, right? Yeah. So I really like what Tammie was saying about the list with the friends.
Yes,
That's awesome.
That keeps you, that holds you accountable for sure.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why? Would you feel a bit embarrassed if you didn't
Do you
do
want to be the only one with one thing ticked off?
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, my funny thing with that is I would make sure that the things that I wrote in my list were like really specific, broken down to like mini tasks.
Oh, so great.
That way I would have the one, like, be the one with the most crossed out.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, it motivated me to keep going because it was just small tasks that I needed to. So every time I would cross it out, it's like, okay, there you go, good job. Next one. So
Mine is kind of similar. Any sort of item that you put on the study plan for a day, don't make it unaccomplishable. Right? I've always someone very close to me, like a mentor kind of. He always said to me, under promise and over deliver. Right? You always tell yourself you're going to do like let's say I'd say 50%. But then when you do 70%, not only are you going to feel accomplished, you're actually going to be able to get things done instead of looking at this Herculean task in front of you like, I don't even think there's any point in starting.
Hey, welcome. Oh, goodness. Let me check the camera. You guys can switch it. Well, you can move backwards a bit. Yeah. I honestly think that
Are we all fitting?
no, Drew has to be a little bit closer to everyone else.
Do the face left.
No, Drew has to keep coming over this way. Like it's like you missed my expectation management, which is everyone has to touch legs today. Like it's just what's gonna happen. All right, perfect. You're all in. Amazing. Okay, well, now you're here, you have to introduce yourself. So name what you do right now, and then what subjects do you feel like you can expert in telling someone else how to study.
Hey guys, I'm Dhruv. I study a Bachelor of Actuarial Studies at UNSW, and I think I prefer STEM-based subjects, so maths, physics, chemistry.
Oh,
Those are
great.
kinda like mine.
You have a science person in. That's awesome. So I'm gonna do the bio stuff, and then you can do the chem and phys stuff. I love that. I love that. And then we also have economics, and then we have math, English. We got it covered. This is so good. So we're up to the part where we're talking about study plans. So we're just finished talking about being disciplined, which I think if there's any Q&As about that, we'll bring that back in a little bit later. But so a study plan needs to be smart and have systems for accountability. And we were just talking about accountability somehow. No, it was a list of things to a friend, and then it was
Having
mentor.
oh, that was more like that was before.
Okay.
So that was during high school. That was something that when I bought that with through high school, and I was like, instead of I'm gonna do 2 exercises today, I'll do this exercise, and I'd get half of the other done. I'd be like, oh, nice. I did more than I was supposed to, and that's kind of like a very positive thing because you'll immediately feel like you accomplished more than you were supposed to. In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, always under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, from my degree.
No, do it. Put a degree into this.
Psychological, just like when it comes to learning, to break like a big task down into small steps, it kind of makes your brain just go like, oh, it kind of urges you to do that. So I think that's just academically.
Just in general, right? Just
Yeah.
in general. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not meaning to be the one with all the aphorisms, but I did hear a really nice way of summarizing it, which is if the first step towards something feels too hard, yeah, like it has to be smaller. It has to feel like you're actually taking a step. All right. So how did you keep accountable? Did you have a study plan?
Kind of. I like more than like okay, I want to hit a certain number of hours every week. I kind of made it objective based, so like I want to complete classes. I guess I really focused on consistency because even at uni and like even earlier in high school, I had these moments where I would cram all this stuff into like one night. And then when you're studying, you realize, wait, it's actually kind of interesting. I think you should have started earlier.
Happens all the time.
Damn, I got smarter because of the studying thing.
So yeah, I'd say consistency.
Okay. I love that. Okay, well, I should so this is yes, this is no, right? I am good at keeping myself accountable.
I'm allowed to do like this.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to go like this.
No, yeah. I think it's definitely somewhere around
very,
here, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think accountability. I really resonate with what Tim was saying about finding like someone to be accountable to. I know you guys. Full-time people. Essentially, here at work, we have a chat where every Friday we need to update everyone on what we've done that week. It is really embarrassing if you're the only one who's like didn't progress. Yeah, it's really embarrassing. Yeah, so I think it's like creating that healthy pressure, right? Like whether or not it's finding friends. How did I keep accountable in high school? Just thinking about it. I mean, disappointing my parents. Like that was a huge. That kept me accountable. And I think for stuff that I really liked, I think I wanted to impress my teacher. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. To be honest, I don't think I found intrinsic motivation to study until I was like in uni. Perhaps even a little later. Yeah. Like I think the true intrinsic like this is, like this is what I really want to do. That came a little later. But okay. What about I had a study schedule I stuck to consistently. It's okay. There's no. Yeah.
For some subjects,
But yeah.
yes. Some subjects.
Okay, which subject was?
Sorry, no. The subject I really like, I would say probably chemistry and math.
Yeah.
The chemistry I kind of really got into it kind of a bit late.
Yeah.
So by the time the HSC came around,
Mm,
the math I was like the whole way through.
mm.
I kept very consistent.
I love that. You really love maths.
Yeah.
Like you just really, really liked
A
maths.
little bit, yeah.
I think I was actually. I think my tutoring played a big part in me on that study schedule. So you had to hand in your homework. So one was for my grade class, one was for my full year class. I would have to make sure it was done by those days for my classes. So then I just worked around that, and that kind of was my schedule in a way.
Yeah. No, I actually, me too. Chemistry, I was like plateauing because I was pretty good, but then I was like, why can't I get like I think I was doing because okay, so back in the day at Bruce, we would get ranks every time. Like you would know exactly where you were from year 7 all the way up to year 12, right? You just knew where you were positioned, and I think that was to keep us accountable as well. I didn't find it too traumatizing. It was fine because I didn't know any different. But I think now they don't do the ranks anymore because I think it's too traumatizing for a lot of kids.
They
They do?
At least at my school.
Yeah.
And it was worse because like your ranking would be on a sheet and like see everybody else.
Wow.
So you really did not want to be that person. I think somebody complained and they must have changed it. But
Yeah.
until that was
I think there's definitely a level of messed up, but then it's also where it's just like
Bruce definitely got rid of it.
yeah,
Like, I only got my
yeah, exactly. So I think it's kind of like
sorry, only 8 years, yeah.
oh
Yeah,
Oh,
actually.
sorry. Oh, I
No.
thought you were only talking about
no, I
seven.
was in year 7.
Oh,
Yeah, year 7, first term when we just thought we could be friends, and you're like, wait, you ranked higher than me?
oh,
What do you mean? We're not friends. Nah. But essentially, it's accountability. It's thinking about ranks. Right. So my chem rank, my science rank was kind of like just plateauing, and then I just didn't know. All right. So I was like, I need chemistry tutoring. And she was like, well, you're good at chem. I was like, yes, but I'm plateauing. Like, I need someone to push me to study harder.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. I was like, oh, I'm good enough at chem. But then I actually went to tutoring, and that did help. I think tutoring is a way to keep ourselves accountable, right? Yeah. Okay. So I have a plan actually, to give everyone, to show everyone a little bit about. So I don't think anyone has like a set way they study, right? Okay. So I'll actually show, I did prepare, because someone was asking how should a study plan look like, and I'll show you what my study plan looks like, or how my to-do list looks like. And you guys can look too, otherwise you just be sitting there like beautiful wallflowers. Okay, so this is like a study planner we were actually trying to make for the Knoji kids, but we haven't released it yet. I think there was feedback from someone else to me that I think I made it too me in mind. And it's like this works on me. So, but essentially the way that I do it is I don't do long term, those mapping out, what am I doing this month, what am I doing this week, because I get really anxious when I miss like it's like, oh, I was supposed to do something hours of study today and I didn't. Like, well, wash my hands, not gonna do anything for the rest of the day. I clearly suck, right? So what I do is I have a daily, like I have a running to-do list. These are just arranged in the order that I'm supposed to do them in. There's no deadline per se. It's just like these are the tasks. Right, you gotta do them. And then I have longer assignments / projects, which is like, this project is due at this time. This project is due at this time. And then what I would do is work backwards. So if it was due August the 1st, then what do I have to do like the day before? What do I have to do like a week before? And then what I do is I look at, and then you do long-term goals. And the long-term goals could be anything. It doesn't have to be study related, right? Like if you want to volunteer during Christmas holidays, you can't just magically show up to a volunteer place and be like, hey guys, I'm going to help you skip some soup or something. You have to apply, you have to like maybe do an interview. So you'd like, I put work. This was when I was still at learn code. Like I was making this template. I should learn how to code.
It's fun. It's very fun.
No, I think it is fun. And then you reach a point where I'm like, not how. I could be hiring a coder. So essentially what I do is, and the bad thing about this thing is just like you have to look at it every day. You can't let it collect dust and then you forget. Then kind of having a running to do, right? So then every single morning you have to have a look at your to-dos and I would rearrange them based on like what is more of a priority today.
Yeah.
Right. Things change, right? And then I would look at my assignment projects and I'll check if there's anything coming up that I need to migrate up to my to-dos. And I'll check these like once every 2-3 days or like a week. So what this kind of guarantees is just like if it's not here, it's just not in my brain. Like if it's not on my to-do list, I'm just not thinking about it. And it kind of helps with the stress thing as well, because it's like, yeah, there's a thing that's happening here and it's a huge project, but it's on my to-do list. So it's not really. This and a good calendar system, because if things are not in my calendar, it's not real. Yeah. I don't know. Would you guys have used something similar? Like a running to-do list? You know, you had a list for your trials period?
I kind of just circled what exercise or what chapter I want to do on what day in like the maths textbook itself. Like physically, I had circled an outline. Okay, chapter 5 integrated needs to be done by X, Y, Z, and then every chapter had like a date assigned to it.
I love that.
Yeah. Great. Got it done. Or I didn't.
As
and if I didn't, it was like, okay, well, I'm not perfect. I'm a human. Right? I'm allowed to make mistakes. Screw job. Yeah, being flexible is pretty important as well. If your plan fails.
Yeah. 100%. 100%, right? Yeah, I really like that. I think flexibility is really important. Awesome. I think people. I hope you guys aren't disappointed because I think everyone kind of wants for some plans.
Yeah.
And some people have really intense and interesting frameworks. I don't think we're necessarily that type of people in this particular room. I think what I would do is I think I would find multiple subjects and like break them down into parts, and then I would that would be my kind of do it. Like, okay, I need to do this project, and this for this project, and then every day I would pick out 2 or 3. That way, I wasn't forcing myself to do something maybe I didn't feel like doing in a day, but I was still getting something done on that to-do list. So rather than setting dates, I'm going to get this done on this day, because what if on that day I'm doing that? So then I would have a bank of things to do, and then pick and choose. I like that, like a little parking lot. How did you guys study when there was nothing really to study for?
Kind of I look at each subject and try to identify what I'm really weak at, and I wouldn't test or something. Maybe I'll just look over something, or just go back and do it, exercises of a chapter I felt I was weak at.
What about between say end of trials and start of HSC?
To be honest, after the end of trials, for at least a week, everyone prepared a really hard for trials. So a lot of people take a good week off at least. But yeah, after that week is over, I guess you kind of gradually build up your study habits again, try and get back into it.
How would you make sure you have each subject has enough playtime?
Again, I just started first week a week. I feel like if I was already strong at something, I don't even pay as much attention to it. But if I felt I was weak at something, I'll try and put more time into it. I just list out weak points from each subject. You can choose kind of
do something similar.
I would kind of give myself a reward for doing a subject that I didn't like.
Oh.
So then I really enjoyed doing maths past papers, but I would say, okay, you are not going to do this maths past paper until you complete this English short answer. So I was and I truly did enjoy it. It wasn't a task. So then, I was still being productive. So you have to reward yourself in some way.
I love that. So you have a subject that you really don't want to study, and then you reward this subject that you do want to study.
And then you feel great. So
I love that. It's like getting the hard thing out of the way first. Get it first if you don't like it. Okay. What was that expression? That expression. I'll go to
Oh,
gym any day, any time in the day.
It's a love-hate thing.
What about yourself?
I kind of measure studying, definitely studying in terms of like, I've done 7 experiments, I've done 5 of these, X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think by the time trials come around, you shouldn't need to really, I didn't necessarily revise. It was more just, all right, this is the kind of question that I'm going to see in the HSC. Can I tackle it? Yes. Great. No. All right. Then I go back and kind of rebrush my or something like that. But I think I will just focus on getting through as many exam-style questions as I could, because obviously knowing and understanding the theory is very, very important.
Yeah.
But what's going to get you marks in the HSC is knowing how to answer the questions the way they meant to be answered. Like, that's just the reality of it.
That's fun.
And for me, I feel like, well, at the end, I believe like the efficacy that you're able to do a certain like subject really motivates. Like if you're a good at subject. So by the end of trials, I felt like I had enough skill to be able to just do all this. Like I was just motivated to do everything. Like at the start, like when I did anything, I just didn't want to do it. But at the end, it just feels like it comes out naturally.
Very interesting points. So I think in summary, a good study plan is really broken down. I feel like that's like just a recurring thing. Like just like, don't say I'm going to study maths today, right? It has to be like, I'm doing 2 papers, 1 paper. And if you really do that, then it's like, oh, no, if you really like maths, then I'm going to do 1 English essay before I get to do love that. Love that you love maths. And then I felt the same about science. Yeah.
So fun.
Okay, so specific, like really specific, right? Small goals, tiny goals. And then I think for a SMART goal, so SMART, specific, measurable, I think measurable is just like this is how many papers I'm going to do, or how many units I'm going to study, this is how many syllabus points I'm going to cover. Like, don't let yourself just be overwhelmed. It's so easy to get overwhelmed if you don't have it, right? A is achievable, right? It's what Gahan was saying, right? Always under promise and over deliver to yourself as well, clearly. And then T is time constraint. Did you guys, how many hours did you guys study?
I measured it in I measured it in these classes I had to do.
Actually.
I love that. I love that.
I feel like, honestly, I was pretty inconsistent. Like, I have days where I study like maybe an hour max. And the days where I'm like, you just come home and you feel like you're productive. You just maximize. You feel productive. You study for like 4 or 5 hours and you don't like feel bad about it.
As
long as the tasks you need to get done are done.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, so it's not so much time constraint and much more like, am I getting stuff done? Don't stop when you're, well, no, actually, we're not bringing that energy into this room. I was going to say something. I'm going to get my microphone right. Very, very male podcast. Like, and I'm not one, so we're not saying that in this space today.
Task-based, not time-based.
Yeah, I love that. Task-based, not time-based. Absolutely love that. And I feel like the time constraint factor naturally comes with HSC. It's not like, like later at work, sometimes you have projects that you can take as long or as little as you kind of want. If you like clean up the files. Right, so then you have to be like, clean up the files today. So that's kind of the takeaway. I think on the point of someone asking, what are you studying on? You have nothing to study. For me, during the holidays, I would look back and look at the syllabus and create notes for the syllabus points that I've learned and make sure that I was just like, what do you mean? I was just trying to keep up.
No, I guess so.
No. He's like, I don't know about that.
You're making it back up from scratch.
Like, it was fun though. Like fun.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it was ugly. It was on one of those Spirax things,
Ah,
like terrible things, and I would use like the big velocity pen.
I hate pretty notes.
Oh, I don't do
Wait,
pretty
I'm
notes.
supposed to prettiness even in messy notes.
Oh, really?
You have a lot
Yeah.
of it.
Just
Yes.
Yeah,
sheer volume.
volume itself just makes it like,
Makes
wow,
sense for
that's
no one
nice.
but me.
Yeah.
These are mine.
This is evidence that I'm a sweat. Yeah. No, I love textbook, and I would just reread each page. But I didn't do that for like. I think English was very hard to study when I felt like I didn't have a direction. But we'll talk about that in a future section.
One more thing.
Yeah.
If you're in year 12 or 11, you never have nothing to study for. The HSC is less than 2 years away.
Factual.
You always have something to study.
The Hansberg. Yeah. So it's like there's never a moment where there's nothing. Like you always have old points that you need to revise because if you don't know them, you won't be able to access the points. And then if you already knew what's coming up, you could actually prefer to revise over pre-studying. Because I found pre-studying to be a bit too I'm like, but then if it's like revision, it felt more like, okay,
What's pre-study?
Like you know that this is going to be the next science topic. Like, am I going to go out of my way to be like?
I was kind of different. I was like, I already know stuff.
Yeah.
I'll look at this next topic, new shiny thing that I get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, even like really when I go through it for the first time at school or I like a little bit more context behind my learning, so I'm less confused in class.
Revision, team revision.
I want to feel like I know something. So
Yeah.
The stuff that I know, and I feel like that in itself is
I'd be good at that.
yeah.
For sure.
Pre-reader. Oh, I love that.
The thing is, pre-reader.
Yeah.
Context. I was.
If someone understands organic themselves with no external support,
Good for them.
wow.
Go be a chemist now.
Yeah. Skip HSC. Go.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Summary. There's never nothing to say. Honestly, that's my takeaway
Yes.
from this. Right? Everyone's really much in agreement with that. The last thing that we're doing in terms of discipline is overcoming faith, right? And essentially, we go back to the consistency method is equal to success.
Yes.
But another way to talk about it is consistency is the number of attempts, right? How many times you keep trying for the same goal. And a good method is the quality of those attempts, right? So I think essentially, I want to open up the conversation about failure being, met a very, very successful person last week. I don't know if I can say who he is. A very successful business person who sells a very famous alcoholic beverage brand, which I won't say who they are, but essentially a really beautiful nugget of golden information that he was just like he distilled it right from so many years of just like working really hard. It was like a abilities to being successful in anything, right? And that is resilience and discipline, right? And I mean, kind of like this, right? Because if you're resilient, right, the number of attempts just is infinite. You will never be beaten down by a failure. You will just relentlessly try, right? So have you, actually, that's a fun question. I have, so yes, no, I have cried because of an exam result. What is this, actually? Wait, no, I'm so happy for you.
I have gotten horrible marks, like failed as well, but I just can't cry. Wow, this is it. I've never had that studying, so I've always turned it into a joke.
For me, it was kind of like if I did badly in an exam, I knew as soon as it was finished. So I had a lot of time to process that before I got the result back. I knew I bombed it as soon as I left that exam.
When I read that, I immediately thought that it was extension 1, midterm assessment on induction. Relentlessly. There was not a single question that just prove X, Y, Z, find action. Not anything they could have thrown at me that I would not have been able to solve. I was at that. You get one question like that, and the rest of it was about the process and the method of production. So it was something that I had not prepared. I was absolutely livid, and I genuinely, it was the worst paper I'd ever sat for math.
You just not think.
I just assumed it would just be through this by nothing, through this by nothing, through this, and then they would just call it there. I didn't think there could be anything else to ask for induction. Because again, I was in the mindset of preparing for exam-like questions. I was like, this is what induction is in the exam. But and it's not working very well. And I was very, very, very upset after.
Did you cry at the mark or did you cry after?
After the exam. I knew the mark was fairly bad. It was not very good. Not what I would expect out of myself. I was just so mad. I was kicking all sorts of things.
Inanimate objects.
Yeah. I was just so mad. I was like, school's this, school's that, and it's
I mean, in that moment, you love to
anything.
It doesn't know what they're talking
Oh,
yeah. No, that sounds fun. What were you gonna say, Drew?
I'm gonna say the teachers make this paper, they kind of discourage people who just grind textbooks up a question that you don't expect. So you always gotta cover the topic pretty broadly, otherwise just to prepare for surprises.
I think, was that a learning point for you after that exam? Were you kind of just let me get some breath into my
for sure.
definitely.
For sure.
Damn. Okay. Wow, you guys can all tell when you've done bad. And there was I mean, I knew I didn't do brilliantly. This was something 9, and then I got my mark back, and I was sobbing. Which, by the way, was really funny because I think I'm just a huge. Well, yeah, I was just a huge nerd, and then my best friend at the time had worked, and she wanted to strangle that day. And she was just like, "Why are you crying? Oh my god, did you?" She looked at my mark and she was like,
I'm this mark.
"Get out of here!" But no. I think it's what you were saying is right. It's just one holds oneself to a certain expectation. I think disappointing yourself is possibly the worst. When you're terrible.
For me, there would be so many instances of such mistakes, or just only written essays or whatever it was. So my favorite moments probably in high school was I would take a photo of it and I'd send it to my friends, and then we would all laugh at it. Or there was one particular short answer and I just misinterpreted the question, and we still laugh about that to this day. So there's good things that come out of it. You try positive thing, I think it really helps you to deal with that. I'm
quite inspired by that mindset, actually. Yeah, I think where there's a lot of silliness, there's just a lot of silliness in everyday life. There's lots of silly things, lots of unexpected situations, and in the end, I think, for example, if someone didn't do very well in their trial and they got their marks back, and it's what would be your? Did that happen to anyone? Oh, actually, okay.
Well, I'm very good at all. And if I could go back, I think the moment I got my marks, I was surrounded with a lot of people who did well. And that was probably what hurt me the most rather than my actual mark. But what did help me was talking to my friends who didn't even do physics. And then they had a different perspective on how they looked at it, okay? Because they had never done the subject, they didn't know what the questions were like. And they were like, the look at this, you can maybe do this, or why don't you try this, or don't think about that. And they can kind of offer those like more refreshing thoughts as opposed to somebody who's done really well. They're like, oh, you didn't do that bad. And it's like, it's easy for you to say that. So don't, you know, pick and choose. Yeah, it does. It feels, and maybe they don't mean it that way, but you can't think like that as well because we're also so, you just focus on that. Wow. That part.
That's actually a great perspective. I think that like getting that sort of, that kind of comfort from someone who clearly because like I don't believe in everyone competing against each other in life all the time. But I think when you're doing the same test and the same subject, like in that moment you guys are competing with each other. And I think when you're in competition with someone, whether by choice or not, and the person who performs objectively better than you telling you it's gonna be all okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Having a very different support system that varies is going to be in terms of people for different things. I
feel like your support network is very strong.
Yeah.
I really admire that. I love that. They kept you accountable.
Yeah,
they kept you strong.
Yes.
Okay.
My friends weren't like that.
No. Really? Did that help you guys kind of refocus though? Because they were like, what is this? I'll show you. Is that what happened? Like, if you ever got a bad mark and you're just like,
like you get it's much time to be weird, like it's not like you're great, like try to beat this person next.
Yeah.
But like, of course, that should be your main focus. But like, of course, like you get that like slight emotion during the moment, but like after that.
Yeah. Okay. I think that it sounds like if you didn't do really well in a particular test, like you do have to make choices to get yourself out of it, whether or not it's finding the right friendship group or reigniting yourself. Because I'll make fun of you next time. I won't let you live this down. Yeah. What about you, Jim? You ever get bad marks?
Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone.
What a question.
For me, I kind of just took the after the my bed for a bit, stare at the ceiling. The next day, I just kind of try to move on from it. And then, if you have that support network, well, as your said, it's not always like this.
It's not always like that.
It kind of makes you reframe in the sense like this is not the end.
Yeah.
Just to put it like a mathematical sort of aspect to it.
Love,
right?
yeah.
You have, including trouble, you have 4 assessments. I think mostly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 4 assessments, on average, each of them is worth 25% of your internal mark.
Yeah.
Which is only worth half of your actual HSC mark.
Factual.
You're distressed about 12.5% of like the end goal.
Man, work that out on the spot. Yeah, continue.
Right? So, and out of that 12.5, you didn't lose all of the top 5. You lost like maybe 6.25. Right? That's like if you barely pass.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, it's very important to sort of think about it as it's like a very tiny portion of what I'm wanting to achieve in the long run. And even in terms of like success, everybody get the end. It's only 1/8 of the big picture.
Scaling it.
That's I live by that, by the way.
Scaling exists.
On a 60, like 60 is like a 90 if you like scale as well. So it's a pretty difficult subject, Yeah.
I love that. It's like so when you get one up, you did better. Great. You're just helping our school's moderation do better. Oh,
yes.
Yes. It's true. Amazing. So I think to overcome that sensation of failure, I feel like that reframing. All right, next part, study tips. So now we're going to the quality of the attempt, right? Like how do we do it in the correct way, the good method? So we're going to cover, people have asked how to memorize. How do you memorize a bunch of stuff? How do you make notes? exam prep versus regular studying. Honestly, I'm actually going to refer to some just scientific principles, but I feel like we have a psychology student here, so may want James to input on that. And then, how do you study for specific subjects? Yeah. Okay. So first one is memorization and notes, and I'm going to present another like framework, which is great notes. I genuinely believe should contain nothing of the content, like the raw information, because that's already on the slides in the textbook, and everything of your own take on it, your own thoughts. So I might start with this one, whereas like my notes, in in year 7, I used to write the textbook out word for word. I know. It worked for me for a little bit. I, I was doing really well in year 7 and 8 because there was no, the questions are like this, like that hard, right? But the moment I got into year 11, immediate, and I was like, what went wrong? I'm still looking at the textbook and writing it out word for word. Big mistake. So then in year 11 and 12, when I had to, especially for chem, right, like writing everything out, but even bio as well. I didn't do physics, but I think I started drawing a lot more like diagrams. Yeah. Diagrams really help because I realized writing good notes is not for anyone else to look at. It's like, how do I understand this concept? And I think ideally, when you think of a really silly way of remembering something, I would write that down as my notes. And if I did notes for like grammar or something, because I did language for a while, like I did Japanese, and I had a really dumb way of thinking about it, I would write down like, hey, just remember this really silly thing, and then you'll remember this particular concept. And then it's very silly and it wouldn't help anyone else. So I really think like really great notes has nothing to do with writing everything out. And this is why I also have a personal thing about like, I don't know. I personally, it doesn't work for me when I borrow people's notes. Yeah, that's for me. But I know for a fact that for some people it does work. Because in year 11, wait, half this story, but the other half is actually so tragic.
Oh, no.
I will share it. No, not in a sad way. In a really funny way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like in a ha tragic way. I might share it to you guys later. But essentially, I wrote some notes, and it was distributed across the whole grade, and then there was a lot of people who used my notes a little bit, and I was really salty. After that, I was like, I will never share notes again. Yeah, but let's ask that question to everyone. So I think writing notes yourself is always better than borrowing another person's notes. Yeah. Oh, okay, James.
I just like the general. I feel like everyone takes notes, right? It's just like
Yeah.
It's just like the process sometimes for like a lot of people effective. It can be ineffective. It just depends on the way like you go about it. When I would make notes, I would paraphrase or like really try and create a note like that you said, like kind of it's just my thoughts trying to understand it. And then I would go back on it and then try and look at it.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
what do you mean? Just think about a brown cow. I don't understand what it means.
and then note taking at that period just felt pointless to me. So eventually, I found like a lot.
But that's actually so cool. That's really cool. Right, wow. I wish I met you before I did my HSC. When you use someone else's notes.
I was in your position, so I actually shared the notes for year 8 and year 9. I would make the science notes be distributed to like 20, 25 people, but I was like confident in my own abilities and nobody ever got the better one.
Oh, that's so good. That's a positive
and it was always
turnout.
for the half yearly science exam. It was like
Oh.
yeah, so it's a positive outcome, but using other people's notes, writing them yourself, you're actually
Unless, of course, you're writing the textbook out word for word, in which case I strongly recommend you don't do that. Your own notes, then yeah, at least borrow someone else's. I think like top level is excellent notes that help your retrieval. We'll talk about retrieval in a bit, and then it's going to be, make your own, well, borrow someone else's notes, and then it's write out every single word of the textbook. Just, yeah. Okay, love that. I think people wanted to I wonder why, like, what do you feel like they want to find out? Like, what were your biggest questions about making notes when you were in high school? What people want, like, to how to make notes faster?
Everything false.
Do you guys believe that there are some shortcuts that work?
Typing, but not the best way to put it in your brain.
Actually,
I was going to say, I don't think typing helps.
Inscribe it in your brain.
Oh, okay. I'm so surprised. So everyone agrees that handwriting is better. Okay. My whole thing was like, I'm not going to be, outdated and old person, and then in the sense that like, everyone, I'm like, oh, if you grew up with typing, maybe typing is just better. Like I never was like, oh, you have to handwrite because it's always better. I was always like, no, it's not. But clearly that's not true. Okay.
Personally, if my notes are online, I find myself like getting distracted like online a lot easier than if my notes.
So there's that element too. It's like if you handwrite your notes, it's like when you revise, you can turn everything off because you're not relying on your device to be able to access those notes in the first place.
So typing word out versus writing.
Valid.
Absolutely.
It's probably a reason sticks with you.
What are our feelings on pretty notes? I think I got you don't like them.
I mean, if it works for you, it works for you.
If you want to make notes faster, stop worrying about how they look. This is right now.
That's fair. That's fair.
There are many.
So if you're sharing them, I suppose think about the yeah.
I was on pretty notes, but my notes always had the same structure. I was like big.
Structured notes. Yeah.
And then example one had to be written in red pen.
Yeah.
I was specific on those things.
Yeah.
As for like looking pretty handwriting,
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's mine was.
Mine was a scroll. There was like one page that was like trying really hard, and the underlined title was red pen, and then it became way too.
it starts off like that. The beginning of the book is always very.
And I think the other thing I just want to impress you is if you're a student who's watching this right now, HSC is still handwritten, and to be honest, I'm not even saying that as like it's not a threat to you. Like I'm not blackmailing you. It's really more like I feel really bad for everyone who's marking it because we've been marking some handwritten English exams recently, and I think practicing handwriting is actually going to give you like an extra 1 to 2 marks. I'm not joking. I have passed off entire paragraphs because I have no idea what was being written down.
Yeah.
If it's legible, you'll get more marks. So handwriting, I feel like does help with that. Yeah. Okay, so if you want your notes to be made faster, don't try to make it pretty. Do more active engagement, so diagrams, writing down questions, all that kind of stuff. And then like handwrite because it might take longer initially, but like the process kind of makes it sink in more effectively. How do we feel about memorizing? How did you guys memorize? Let me ask a question, right? Another yes or no. So I think flashcards are overrated. Oh, like I'm so curious. What do you have?
I feel like I'll bust out with my book and look through it. I don't know. It's like I'm
The social pressure of what? Bring out.
like if I'm on like the train.
That okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to bust out my laptop and then bust out my notes and do that.
How do you make them? How do you make your flashcards?
I
Like so as in like what did they look like? Was it which subjects did you use it for?
I used them for chem and then I used it to write English. Yeah,
Oh.
I used that a lot. My essay structure, I would have one side of it, and then I would like the other side would have my general points.
Oh, well, I think that's the important thing is you do have to split it by subject because I did also use those little colored palm cards
I have
for
those.
quotes for sure. Like I would write them down and that's how I would like go through it and stuff like that. Well, what about like did anyone else do a language? No. Language wise, I found flashcards really good for like drilling words and like, drilling words into my head. But then I find flashcards to be overrated when you're trying to memorize vocab. Yeah, for like language. If anyone's doing a language, because ultimately a lot of the language needs to be taken in context. So what would happen is I would memorize a word and I would use it grammatically incorrectly. Yeah, and I'll go and then so in the end, it's like what really helped me improve the language is like yeah, sure, flashcards is a starting point. But I had to really still do some active like here's a question, topic, you need to write on it and a list of like the words that I need to use, and then that would actively force me to learn how to grammatically communicate. Okay, well, why did everyone here feel like it's overrated? How did you memorize it?
To be honest, flashcards are really subject dependent. For example, you're not going to need them for maths. Like aside some topics where you don't need stuff, but like a lot of like some other topics in that subject, you're not doing. So I think it's not great as a like only method of study. But, like for those sections of subjects that are more technical, it can help. It helps with, as you said, just like words in your head, but like rest of understanding or application. There's a lot of some.
Yeah, I also think they just take too much time to make it. Right, gotta write something outside. For English, I think my memorization technique was I got really desperate towards the end of the trial to like kind of memorize before trials to memorize my quotes, and there were so many because I think there's like 2 papers. What I would do is for each quote, I would like draw out. I wasn't a great drawer, but I would do stick figures that like instead of the sun, I would draw like the sun and then I drew the water. Actually, I was sitting in my exam and I couldn't remember a quote, so I drew out the picture.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, that is if you're really good at memorization, which I definitely was. So I had to find a really interesting method to kind of figure it out.
I mean, if it works, it works.
I mean, for English again, English isn't necessarily my strongest subject. And for HSC, I did go and write an essay and then adapt it on the day. But
Wait, give the camera a look.
yeah,
As a
so I'm not like saying that's the best way to do it, but I liked kind of memorizing it as a speech. So I print out it and then like try and memorize it as a speech, like say it out loud, and then give them the try to like yeah.
I love that. That's really active because there's so much pressure. There's an audience for sure. That's actually such a great technique. And I mean, I know I made that face, but it was very much in jest. I think ultimately, like the top. We're not in the subject specific part yet, but it's like the top tier for English is like obviously memorizing quotes and understanding them together. But I do think for some of the topics which I don't know, like you just don't feel confident you're gonna be able to generate like the connecting stuff, all that kind of stuff on the spot. Like it's really between memorizing the whole essay and giving up completely. Like memorizing the essay, obviously. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, no, not level 1. I would say that's right under like memorizing like quotes. Yeah. Actually above that. And just like, what do you mean you don't know the quotes? I think sometimes you just gotta meet yourself where you're at. I feel for sure. Like I memorized math solutions. Cool.
I had a friend who did that as well. And it worked.
It worked, yeah. It did. Because I was really bad at velocity and stuff. Like I was really bad at motion. Maths extension too, everything else was fine. Oh my god. Like the physics stuff, because I didn't do physics. I think that's an excuse, because I think if I did physics, I would have still just been bad at it. And I just didn't know how to, like, you could, like, oh my God, everyone in the class was trying to get me to understand. And I was in class and I would understand it, and I would go home and I would look at the exam question and I would be like, so don't really know what to do. Would always get it wrong. My teacher, Mrs. Chen with her leopard leggings, she always
She's still there.
oh, is she? I love her so much. I love her so much. And then, but she sat me down. She's like brutally honest. She was like, in class, you're okay. Why are you so bad in the exam? Really comedy. Anyway, so you know how Ruski has really comprehensive, like, work solutions.
Not anymore.
What? What happened?
A lot of the teachers, there's been a lot of like shuffling in like teachers coming in and out. So like some of them aren't as amazing.
Bro.
Maybe that's just me coping. Though.
No. Woodhouse, Doyle, and Wu were the trio that did like the best solutions. Like their solutions were so good. They were neat, they were well diagrammed, they gave you marks exactly where the mark was allocated. So I would just cut out all the questions that were like motion related, and I would like also cut out the solution, and I would try and look for a pattern between them. And be like, okay, so if they ask me for acceleration, this is how I start my answer, like that kind of thing. Yeah. I think I would have gotten a couple of carry forward. Yeah. But anyway, so memorization. So memorize the whole essay. How did you memorize the whole essay? That's quite a big thing, right?
I memorized my essay not because of like I didn't understand what was going on. I just had to memorize it to like save myself. It was more like I wasn't confident in my articulation skills. Like, coming up with like eloquent sentences on the spot, which is why I chose the memorized.
I knew that.
Yeah, it just like I cut my essay up into like paragraph size, like memorized paragraph.
Yeah. You know, I say like I was really judgmental of Drew, but Loki did the same thing. Like I don't even know. Like is the pot calling the kettle black? What do you mean you memorized it? Like I didn't just memorize the quotes. I had to memorize the linking sentences too. Because I was like, how am I supposed to know which one to use in the past?
I mean, I guess I kind of idea structure that I didn't. Well, I guess some of the sentences ended up being identical to what my practice essays had, but that's just because you write them over and over again, and they tend to come out kind of just on the spot. But the quotes I had memorized, I didn't use flashcards for it per se, but yeah, probably should. But I did, somehow I just read them over and over again, memorize it, right?
Yeah.
But as far as remembering the whole essay, I don't think I would have been able to.
I would be more stressed just by like not being able to remember. Like that would stress me out more than rather if I try to just answer the question to the best, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meet yourself where you're at. Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely a big takeaway from this.
Probably like no one size fits all solution.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Although there are theories that explain how we retrieve information better, and I think we'll go into that because and we want to talk about exam versus like regular studying, right? And I know people who do really well in regular studying, not so much in exams. And I think part of it is because you can split the process into two. One half, you want to practice your application, like you want to be actually understand the concept and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, you want to be able to practice your recovery, because I think there's a big difference between understanding when you have the textbook in front of you and being able to apply it to a series of different situations versus recall, which is what kind of memorization is all about, right? And the biggest framework for that is really just like active is better than passive. And I feel like we keep hearing that though. What does that mean for your study schedule? How would you actively push yourself to remember or to retrieve information?
Exam
conditions?
Yeah. Push yourself to not have the textbook, and time yourself. Put pressure on yourself. And that's how you're going to kind of, in the exam, going to be more common because you've been here.
Mm.
You've been doing so many questions on the time. You know it all. This is normal to you now. I think that's like the biggest sort of advice I would give for actively trying and memorizing.
How many papers did you do? I'm curious. Just too many. Actually, it's like too many.
Probably not too many. Not too many.
Yeah, humble. Like, Trevor, what were you gonna say?
Pretty much the same thing as him actually. Practicing under timed conditions is important. Like when you're practicing with timed conditions, you're gonna reach like a sticky spot where you know the answer to a question, but you're trying to write it down. It's like having those like tricky situations and exam, even if you know everything perfectly, having like timed situations where you're on the time pressure or something like that, I think is like very useful to practice.
When you said active recall look like, for me was don't sit down and do it. Stand up. I would like be different parts of my room. Yeah, so maybe for like SA1's course, I'd be in like this corner of the room, and then I'd like I'd like look at the wall and try and say look at my teddy bears and try and say it. Like just do like interesting stuff. Keep yourself like engaged almost so that you're like
your brain's kind of just
like,
what's going on?
Yeah.
Kind of memorizing this whole
if you
experience
think
like
too much about what you're trying to memorize, you're not going to be able to memorize.
that is very
Then you start overthinking things.
that's very
And like you don't want to think too much about the content. You just want to, like, at some level, you want the words to be drilled into your head in that particular order. And that's sort of the retrieval part. And then the application is sort of applied as the layer that's beneath it. It's like at least now you have the stuff in your head, right? So I do feel like parts of that in that way work. Like they help. Yeah. Like with like language, you have to know the vocab before you start, trying to fix the grammar. Like it's a much worse problem to know the grammar, but only have 2 words to be able to put in there. Yeah.
When you do like those practice papers for your essays, like you are using those quotes, and in a way you are remembering them. Sometimes remembering is like a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
So when I wasn't doing my little picture method,
Yeah.
what I would do was I would just remember the first word of the quote, and then I would be able to go off on that. So if you like saw me memorizing, I would either have a paper full of pictures and I'd be looking at that and talking to the paper, or I would have a paper full of like just words. And those words would like let me to
Memorize like a chain of thought instead of like the entire thing.
That's
Like specific. But I kind of did memorize as a speech.
Yeah. I really like the speech. I really like it. Like now I'm really thinking about it. Okay, I feel like those are things that are 100% valid, but I feel like we can go a little bit more off them, which is like, what is the wrong way to study maths? How come some people and they do all this stuff, and if there's any parent questions, it's kind of like in academic consultations, we kind of get questions like, they're studying, the maths is still not, it's just not clicking. What do you think is an inefficient way of studying for maths? Is there a wrong way to do past papers?
notice the math.
Yeah.
You don't.
yeah.
It's just kind of
And that's I agree.
Yeah. You use the formula, you'll memorize it, you know it. You don't need to sit there and
I think I definitely had the formula sheet memorized.
in a way.
As in like, where everything.
Yes.
I didn't have formulas memorized.
Well, someone did ask how do you memorize formulas. That was a question.
Use them.
That's right. Memorize.
Yes.
Right.
Well, of each, and in a way, then when you see the question, you kind of know what formula to use. I feel like that helped me like solidify my understanding of where does this come from, why will I need it, how is this born, birthed, the formula.
On
Interesting.
a more serious note, I do agree with you. Like, you just use the formula enough times where it's just like, oh yeah. I remember I had a few constants in physics just right there because I went like this. I had them like in my brain just there because I just used it so many times. I've written down that number an insane amount of times. Whereas it's like I don't even need to. I need to see.
Get it wrong, right?
No. That's
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like the piece. Just do it enough times. Stories is like
Mm.
And I think everyone is just saying, oh, we just need to just keep it. I think a bad way would just be like, if you're being like inactive passively, like engaging with exercises. If I were to just like, oh, here's the exercise on acceleration question, and just go through it and then never look back on it again. That would be
Yeah.
I think one thing, and there's actually a YouTube video about this. So sometimes when you come across a question in maths and you don't know how to do it, you're like, okay, let me look at the solution. You look at the solution. You're like, all right, okay, I got it. But you don't actually do that question again. So that's just a temporary understanding of that question, and then you no longer remember it. So you actually do need to put the solution away and re-attempt that question and rewrite it out. And a lot of us don't do that.
I love that. Can I just say, I always did every single test we recorded. Never done it once before. Yeah, because I think it's like the supply of test papers is just not that much. Like for like me, I was like, what do you mean there's not enough papers? There's only one yearly every year. You know? Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that's definitely true. But then also, like, I think some of the papers are not as good quality as others. I don't know how like intense I can go, but
can I say it?
You can say it.
Walking those papers used to kick my all the time. Like I get to the what was it, question 16 or something? I don't remember the question. Right? Like I get to
Really
question 16.
burned the trauma.
I get to question 16. I'm like, what do I do? There's nothing I have to know what to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to challenge yourself too. If you want to get better, you can't be afraid to fail.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
They exist.
Yeah.
Oh, actually.
My school.
Oh,
For
okay.
sure.
where we would make tests for it. It sounds
Oh,
really
wow.
fun.
Ooh.
We eventually got to a point like we did it like for like a really fun exercise.
Yeah.
We just try to make it super difficult questions.
Yeah.
I'm just building on two easy things. I feel like you can get to a pretty good level in math by just doing like regular, like standard difficulty level questions. But like if you want to really go for the top mark, I feel like math is like a subject that rewards like critical thinking a lot.
Yeah.
So I think exposing yourself to really hard questions, even if you initially don't know how to do them, just like looking at them, I think it's what you does a lot as well. Just like looking at them and like trying to get those like really creative ways to do hard questions.
Yeah.
It can help a lot to like go from like good to great.
I think looking back at that as well, I didn't realize it in the moment, but now that I think about it, when I was in my math tutoring classes, I don't know like all the questions. Like when he put the question up on the board, I would just be like, I don't know this, but just not to be discouraged by that, because after he showed me maybe 3 or 4 questions when I was doing the homework, it's like, oh wait, I do know how to do this. Okay, just because the questions in class were hard or maybe I didn't know them, I need to keep in mind that is your first time seeing them. So,
Yeah. No, that's so fair. Well, I do agree with having to attempt on a question, and I think that's really fair. I think from my perspective a little bit was kind of like I think I was like cutting my losses essentially. Where for final section of section 2, I was just like, it's not for me. Like, you know, and I would write like 1 or 2 lines to get that first mark. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, give me half a mark. But then I would go back and make sure that the rest of the paper was like really. And I think it's like, if you're really into maths and you want to like really excel at maths, go for it, right? But I also want to offer some perspective that you actually only need all of your subjects at around the mid 90 range, mid low 90 range in order to get 99. Yeah, like that's the truth. You don't have to be getting 98 in everything, right? If you want a 99.95, unfortunately, that's a whole other the whole other world. You do have to get 98 and everything. Good luck. But all of my subjects I ended up around 94, 93, and I ended up getting a 94. So I think it's like, it's like, think about what your goals are. I think is also another thing, which is like, it's really important because success looks different for everyone as well. And maybe for you, it doesn't look like a 98 in maths, and then you can redistribute your time. Yeah, as needed. But yeah, never did a single paper less than twice. So make sure. I think like building off what May said, don't just make a mistake and then be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like instead of doing it twice, if you don't have enough time, you can also just like look through your solution. That's like a time saving method. If you don't have time to do it twice, doing it twice.
Yeah, look at the question. This is how I might approach it, and then see what the correct way to approach it is. And it's like, yeah, the same. You would know the correct way.
I love that. Don't do that the night before.
No, don't do that the night before. Okay, well, I think in summary, active just means like, forcing yourself to work harder, whether or not there's more pressure in that moment, whether or not there's more, emotional stake. And then also there's an element of like physicality. Like, you guys walk around with stuff. Like you do, and 100%. Sometimes, yeah. I used to take walks, like 2-hour walks, and just to memorize my books. Like that helped. And then passive just means like you're not really engaging with something, right? I was gonna mention this later, but I think by the way, we have like really limited time left, so we're gonna punch through this. But we're gonna spend like 30 seconds just addressing that elephant in the room, which is the fact that AI exists now. Which honestly is not a problem that I ever had to deal with. So sorry guys. Like, you have to really resist against the temptation of even better technology. Yeah. Back in the day, you were so bored, studying was like your entertainment. But I think just as a summary, I think AI is excellent for information, but the issue is it almost takes away that retrieval aspect from the study. And ultimately, in the end, right now, the subject matter you study is actually not, like I would argue, the subject matter that you study in high school is just not that important. It's actually about the way that you're thinking about it. I think it's about problem solving theory, like how do you approach a problem? How do you approach questions? It literally is trying to train your brain to have, especially if you do maths, right, to have like a step-by-step logical approach to very complex things, right? And that's the skill that it's trying to help you develop. So I think if you rely on AI for all of the retrieval and all of the application, and you sort of give up easy to get the answer from there, well, I mean, 2 things. First of all, is just like you won't actually be able to do that. And number 2, I think you actually stop being. I would say if you have the ability to critically think and problem solve, you're actually better at using AI. Like I think AI, I get a lot more value out of AI because I know what I want it to think.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I ask it like really specific. I'm like, no. Think about this as well, and then tell me again.
You have to use no AI to get up to that.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah. I think it's like if you don't have the critical thinking ability, AI doesn't do it. And I notice that sometimes in terms of like students using AI, and there's a problem everywhere, right? It's a problem here at Knoji too, and it's just like when students use AI to do creative writing, but it's just like the quality is just not there because it's not feeding it substance, and because the student themselves have not developed the substance that is required to generate effective, creative writing pieces. They can't actually evaluate if what AI gave them is good or bad.
Yes.
That's one thing, right? So they submit it and they're like, it's done. But then the teacher very much is like, this is very mediocre. And number 2, it's like, it's really not actually being able to leverage that tool to its maximum potential. Which I honestly think is just fine. If you can use it better, why wouldn't you? Yeah. So that's the AI elephant in the room. And that's all the statement we'll be making for now. I did a HSC subject skill matrix, which I don't really think we need to go through too much. I think people ask about subject selection. I mean, quick tip on that, pick whatever you're good at. That's it, honestly.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more about it, academic consultation with me. And then essentially, you can split subjects up into, I tried making it into quadrants. I do love a really good free one. It's not that exciting. Actually, you know what? I will not be humble. It is super exciting.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
So first of all, you have to understand if you're a memorizer or an applicator. If you're more of like a memorizer, stuff like biology, legal studies will probably be like easier for you to get marks in. If you're more of an applicator, go do something like physical math, right? Math extension, right? If you're more of like a deeper critical thinker versus a more expressive person who's more like outwardly facing, you would probably do, you'll be better at English. I mean, you have to do English. But if you're not a critical / deep thinker, I would really strongly warn everyone against English extension 2. It is not the same as English extension. The only people that didn't do very well in is because I made that assumption that it was exactly the same as English extension. I was like, oh, frameworks, Peel, yay. No, it wasn't. You actually had to think really critically. Which is admitted I'm not actually a critical thinker, but that's okay. But yeah, so have a look at that. I think pause this if you want to have a look at that in terms of helping you find a subject to select. I think if you have subjects that you're equally good at, for example, if you're good at like memorizing and you can do legal studies, history, business studies, or economics, do economics because the scaling is better.
Yeah.
Right.
At that point, leverage is good. But you won't be able to take advantage of it if you're not doing it.
Exactly. All right. So there's no secret magic sauce for the perfect subjects to choose, and you're gonna swim through the HSC. Absolutely not. All right. I would even go so far as to say you should drop maths if maths is literally dragging you down, because maths is not compulsory. Not yet. Yeah. They keep saying they will. It hasn't happened yet.
How to do it?
They never do. Right. It's the kind of thing where, and I think everyone's worried about like subject selection affecting the university degree and stuff. I think maths is a prereq for like engineering or certain. Exactly. Look up the UX check. But to be honest, if you hate maths and the uni degree says maths is a prereq,
it's a pretty good sign. It's not for you, yeah.
I think it's worth looking into it.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do it? Right? And I think for the question that a lot of people might want to know, medicine, there's no prereqs. It's okay. You don't have to do maths to do medicine. You might have to do chemistry, but that's only for one specific location. And yeah. And I won't say that. Yeah. Okay. Final 10 minutes, and I think we're gonna try and give as much value as possible. So, in your experience, let's go in a circle. What are your dirtiest study tricks? And I think we got a preview of this, and Gahan has a really clean, dirty trick. But I think let's keep digging deeper, right? What did you do that was almost like a little shortcut? Not saying they didn't put in the hard miles anyways, but what helped just a little bit? Right? So mine was, and I already said this on Instagram the other day, but just like using really niche things to like. So the game was called To the Moon. It was about. It was about a story of it's a cute love story between an old couple, and one of them had like Asperger's, which now I don't even think it's a real term anymore because it's being reclassified onto ASD, the spectrum. And that story was beautiful. Like that game was so well done, so sensitive, bawling my eyes out. I was like, hey, you know what? I don't think my teachers watch PewDiePie. And I think they'll really enjoy this story too. Let me use it for my creative. And that's what I ended up using.
Yeah. I mean, mine. For my last creative I ever did, I say ever did, for high school, I watched like an ice sculpting documentary. it's about this guy and his team and how their process about going about it. And I don't know, I thought that taking a little bit of that time to look at having some sense of realism to the piece. And I don't know, it was just, I think that it became very beautiful.
Love that. Didn't have to make up his own dialogue because it was real. It's really sad.
I would just not study like right before the exam, like the night of the exam. Just, I think I wanted my mind to be clear of the subject that I was going to really mentally dive into. I was just studying for it at all. Right. When I'd see all my friends and everything, like trying to cram in like that last week, I was like, no, I'm kidding. I used to be like, but then yeah, right, it really helped me kind of stay mentally relaxed for me there, which I think I like to think that was a very
I mean, I did this one, which was like, I would put the solution, just the answer in front of me, and then I would do whatever I needed to do to get that answer. So I wouldn't look at the solution, and I would spend like half an hour on questions if I needed to, but I had to get that answer. It doesn't matter what I did. And then I would look at the solution, and then I would figure it out. But I mean, it forced me to think in like so many different ways.
And it stopped you going too far off the curve.
Yeah.
You're like, that's where I'm
I was
going.
gonna say it gives you direction. That's really cool.
A couple of times in year 11, my work ethic wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, and I found
Couple
myself
times.
cramming for it. So I was just a topic. I think it was like electric circuits or something, and I hadn't known. So I spent like the day before just doing papers with like solutions right next to it. So like just getting from like 0% to like even 60% of the way there, it really does help. Obviously, like the more effort you put in, you're gonna get like more results. But like just to get yourself up to like a baseline where you think you can answer some of them,
I like that. I mean, I already talked about my using solutions to inform a subject, like a topic that I really was really just not that good at. Like I just couldn't do motion. What else did I do? I used to, I mean, like, I would spam questions, obviously, but then this is not really a dirty trick at all. I think it's just like a thing that I realized, you know, in those Cambridge textbooks, and there's always that skill building section. I thought they were not that useful for me. Because the skill building, I feel like it's always I think it's there to help you get the basics right? Like you have this topic and then they ask you to do a very specific thing for that very specific question, and you repeat that skill again and again, and it's really cool, right? What I actually noticed in terms of the gap is like there is no intermediary questions that got me from the basics to the exam. Like I was kind of just like, okay, here's the base. Okay, cool. Here's the whole question. Now do it. And I'm like, so in the end, I just the other one, because then I would just look at the hardest question first, because I'm like, okay, well, this is how good I have to get. And then if I really got stuck, then I would backtrack to be like, oh, this was the foundation that I missed. So instead of going from the easy stuff to the hard stuff, I would go from the hard stuff back to the easy stuff. And that really helped, because I think, again, it gave me direction. It's like, I know where I'm going with this. Right? That helped for a lot of them.
Because, like, no, it's just when you go about something, you wouldn't like have some basis. Or I wouldn't like know a lot about it before I tackle the hard questions, the easy questions. And I would like say like it's like almost a symptom of like chasing this perfectionism. And, I do really agree with the method of just going for it and just trying things out and just not trying to be perfect.
There was this really interesting perspective I read online about, you know, these super duper hard questions that typically arise in university level engineering courses and all that. And, you know, everybody's like, what's the point? Someone had said, you know, these really difficult questions kind of give you an insight into what's possible. So the basic skills that you see and that you've kind of heard. And like, these straightforward applications anyone, but to be able to sort of understand, see the bigger picture of like, yeah, this is actually what the crux, or like this is what the pinnacle of this skill is. I think that also, if you're subject especially, can be kind of exciting, kind of help you sort of power through a little bit more.
I think I wouldn't say it's a study tip, it's more of a motivation tip. Is me and my friends we use this app called YPT, and what you could do was you could connect with your friends and you could put the timer on the app. It says that you're currently studying, so you would just see like everybody studying, and then that would like when you first started out using it, you were really excited about it. So you wanted to be like on the leaderboard, the top 3. So we would all try and study like as much as we could. I will say maybe when you try and use it, cap it for 8 hours a day. So you want to go really big in the first week, and you kind of put it out towards the end. So when you do use it,
LPT, no.
It can also be like really demotivating to see you go to the leaderboard like 5 days in, like 4 8 hours, and you have like 6. So like you gotta like adjust your mindset to be like I'm not on 80 hours. Like, you just need to focus on like your own kind of journey.
Yeah, that's so fair.
I think building up on that, what I would always remind myself if there was like when people like go past me in terms of how much they study, it's always, well, maybe they're just doing something that takes longer. Because again, going back to it's a task based, not time based. I think as you get to senior years, kind of understanding that it's not just about like the number of hours, but maybe what there's maybe people stuck on something and needed half an hour to figure that out. So that kind of not or something.
Oh my god, can I say something? I really feel like the most positive thing that I've noticed across everyone here is you guys have a really healthy. Is this because it's like retrospective?
I think
Survivor bias. Yeah.
I think it is a lot.
Yeah, because it sounds like, no matter how tough it may have been, like there was always this ability to bring yourself back to the game.
I mean, what are we gonna do? Not studying for the next exam?
I think some people may choose to give up as a way of feeling, as a way of coping with their stress, which I feel like, if you stop playing, and that, both. Exactly.
What would you say?
Have a chance.
Yeah. If you stop playing, won't have a chance to win, but if you do something, you also will never lose. But I think it's like, what kept you guys going in the deepest, darkest days, or was it like all that compass? Was it kind of just like I need a good idea?
I never found myself that mentally low. Like I was kind of taking a break. The break always helped me to like get back to like normal. Just, like, I think big breaks is pretty important.
Yeah, breaks are very important.
Low point was probably during a 2-week break before my physics exam. I hated studying physics, and now the only thing that I need to study is physics. So then I tried to like pull out like really crazy or like creative study methods, and I have like mind maps all over my walls and like things that would keep me sane. Okay, this is a fun activity, not really studying. So
fair enough. Okay. We have spoken for a long time. There are still 6 people, actually 5 people because we're 6. Thank you everyone who are talking here. If you have a question, like 100%, you can scan the QR code and let us know. I think in the meantime, we're just gonna kind of wrap up the main takeaways. I think I might go around because I'm quite curious to see what you guys thought was a passion back here. So before maybe we'll do a final summary presentation to make sure we've addressed everyone's questions from.
Just don't try to do perfect. Just try to get things done. Great. Sorry.
I think like the biggest pattern is that there's no very, very consistent pattern. Like everyone here had very different ways of approaching different problems. But at the end of the day, it does come back to the formula that you kept going back to, the consistency, quality, to give you some. I think that is the biggest takeaway. Just stick to the program and make sure the program is a good program.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think if you ever find yourself in a bit of like a so positive situation, in the moment, that is the only thing you're thinking about. So it seems really big, but if you problem, you will probably be able to come up with a more climate situation.
Yeah, just like reiterating what I said before, I think like it can be really mentally taxing if you comparing yourself to other people in your grade, like in extreme cases in life, stuff like that, where you think you're falling behind, but you just really need to focus on what you're doing, like where you think you are. I think that helps reduce stress a lot as well. Like if you're not too worried about how everyone else is doing, you're more focused on your results.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so a quick summary of what happened today. So we talked about consistency, which is connected to discipline, and it's, trainable, but also please just delete the things that are keeping you distracted. And you have to actually do it because, like, I have this device called Brick. I don't know if you've seen the ads on Instagram. Yeah, it works. Yeah, it's really good when I use it, and sometimes like I forget to unbrick I leave the house, and I just won't have a bunch of stuff, and I'll be like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, no! And I realize I didn't need all of those apps. But essentially, it's like a little. Just go Google it. There's like a little brick, and you go boop, and then it actually just, stops access from whatever app you decide to not have access to, and you can't unbrick it until you literally return to the brick. So like, there's no way. I can't override it. Yeah, actually, you can. There's 3 emergency overrides, but after that, that's it. 3 emergency overrides in a lifetime. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Otherwise, you have to like make a new account and stuff like that. Which I know is a workaround, but you just really shouldn't do that to yourself. But so the brick is really, get rid of the stuff that's tempting to engage with. If your friends are not supportive, get rid of your friends too. Like low key, I think that's actually really important. I think another thing that we all talked about, like implicitly, is just the power of people. Maybe not how, like our tutors who helped us get through everything, right? Like our friends who helped us get through, right? In terms of study plan, you can put together a beautiful calendar study plan, but if you don't look at it every day, there's no point. Right? Do something so easy that you'll be able to do it every day.
Yes.
Right. That's one thing for the study plan. Make it super specific. Everyone said as specific as you possibly can. That's super easy. Make sure it's achievable. Under promise, over deliver. I'm taking that away with me. That was great. That's for study plans, and then have someone who keeps you accountable. And on the line of who not how, I don't know what everyone's relationships with their parents are, but they're a pretty powerful who in your life.
Yeah.
So I think it's like if you need them to check if you've been studying, tell them, ask for help. And I think that will make them trust you more because clearly it's like you actually need to do studying, right? Like, hey, can you please check in on me every day at 8 p.m. so that I can show you the list of stuff. But the preface is I think you guys need to have a good relationship. I'm not trying to ask anyone to deal with anything more complex while they're in the stress of HSC. And I think as parents, getting buy-in from their kids about stuff, like what I mean is like if you want to take away their phone, like if you impose it, it feels like a restriction. But if you work with them and they request that you take away their phone, they will see it as you doing them a favor. Like I really think, like from my experience, I had a bit of a tiger mom. I think if she just discussed things with me and had my I agree to this, that would have really helped. Yeah, I would have felt a lot more empowered, and that's how I think parents can help. What else did we talk about today? Oh, people actually asked about extracurricular activities. Did you guys do extracurricular activities?
I wish I was a bit more like the prefect stuff.
Yeah.
Or I wish I involved myself a bit more.
Oh, what did you do?
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
So I was always like I consistently did have playing and stuff
Oh, I love
and
that.
go to.
I love that.
I mean, I played a little bit of like cricket or stuff like that, but I also think like it is still important to like. I wouldn't say you should like unless it's right for an exam. I wouldn't say like oh skip this party, skip this social gathering. I think it's really important to interact with people that helps like.
That's so true. Yeah. Keep saying. So we all are pro extracurricular. Christianity.
Yeah,
That's so
sorry.
true.
My bad.
And in terms of like good method, so that was all discipline. Good method would be, for memorization heavy subjects. Writing down questions that were generated from the content or related to the content, and then as a form of revision, working out the answer to that question. For me, I looked at every single dot point and I just responded to the dot point because what else could they possibly throw at you? Make sure you study for range because you can't predict what they're going to test you about in any test, even though there's patterns in the HSC. Like I've heard people try and guess what the English essay is going to be about. It's like, oh, this year was like this type of question, so next year it has to be this type of question. No, they can do whatever they want.
In our year, they were like, people in our very convinced they were gonna make a funny persuasive
Yeah.
HSC.
Yeah.
So there's never like a sense that.
Yeah.
I actually.
What
Oh, but
wait, what was the final piece?
So it was just narrative. Like they give
Persuasive wasn't even in the option.
but what year did you graduate? Because my year was something very similar. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think people were expecting like a 10 and 10 mark split between like a creative and discursive or something like that. But that didn't happen. It was like a completely new type of question.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
And everybody's like, it's such a curveball. Like, you
Yeah.
don't know what's coming.
No.
Never try and predict what's going to happen. Like, you have a general idea of what they're going to because it's a syllabus. Don't just
Syllabus.
there's a syllabus.
I
Yeah.
taught for economics. I really strongly focused on memorizing essay plans for 6 questions. I hadn't completed in the past few years. I was lucky. 4 of them were the math.
Oh, wow.
I was really lucky in that case.
Oh wow! I got really unlucky because for my poem-based English essay, they were like they can ask about any poem. Yeah, and what the chances? There were 6 poems. I did my practice essay on 3 of them, and they specified 2 poems that were not in my list. It was fine though, because I still remembered stuff. Like I still had enough of like I did make a quote up here and there. I'm like, that's roughly what they said. That's what they meant. Here's your analysis, but yeah, no try to predict. If you have nothing to study for, that's not true. You do, yeah. You will always revise so you can prove it. Those are all valid options. What else came out of that study method thing? I think the memorization thing, make sure it's active. Also, sounds like for maths, all of us kind of agree that it's actually sometimes very helpful to work back to front, like, or have a destination.
Yes.
Like having a destination or like using the solution to give yourself some sort of direction, because it's not fair to yourself. I think it's just like it's not really fair to yourself to struggle without any sort of guidance. I think before we wrap up, there was 2 people who asked the question of why Knoji? And I was like, oh, someone's trying to get me to do a sales pitch today. But honestly, I think that's such a good question. And I don't know. I think in summary, from Knoji, I think it's like if there was a way I had to sort of describe its difference and its value from whatever other tutoring places exist out there, I think for us, we really value conversation over lecturing. I mean, I feel like today was a bit of a testament to that. It was a big conversation, right? And I think we're also gatekeep, like we're not gatekeeping, like we're knowledge, like sharing knowledge is just such an essence of who we are. And I'm not just talking about like study and like that kind of knowledge. I think it's very much like if we have a tip, we tell the kid.
True.
Yeah, you guys will tell the kids. Yeah. We don't hold back from our kids. I think our dynamic with the students is a lot more relaxed than other centers.
Absolutely.
So I think there's like conversation and mentorship, and for the content, I think we really value skill set over information. So I think at the essence of Knoji, why we might find, like why we may be a choice for some students rather than like another tutoring center. I think for a student who lacks perhaps clarity, lacks any sort of direction, whether or not it's content wise, or whether or not it's just like general studies or direction wise, I think we really focus on that. Yeah. That's why we do the small classes. Otherwise, the conversation won't happen. You know? Anyway, that was a rocky start. But we made it. You know, I think that started with bullets of sweat. To be honest, I think I'm really grateful that I think 7 people found their way to live stream link. Live some, learn some. Next time we run a live stream, I feel like I've got a little direct experience, you know, take a go, have a go. Yeah. Right? We just wasn't perfect, but we did it.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for being here. I think maybe just one more word for the people, the three. Okay. But they stayed the whole way. Like I feel like these are people who thank you so much for staying, by the way. We actually really appreciate it. Well, final words and then I'll end the live stream.
I mean, just like everyone's doing the HSC, so like the common experience. Like don't beat yourself up about it.
What he said.
Like when you look back at everything, it's all pretty funny. So
It's
it's all pretty funny.
Detract from having memories that you'll look back at with a lot of like just like build good memories in high school that aren't study related as well. Don't lose sight of life.
Have confidence in yourself, I guess.
Yeah, that's a
Your
toughie.
aspirations.
I'll leave a more stern one, which is I think like the content I learned in high school wasn't necessarily super relevant because right now what I do has nothing to do with math extension. But doing the work, putting in the effort, and actually developing critical thinking skills, it has helped. It still helps me. I think if I didn't know how to solve an extension 2 math question, I wouldn't be able to solve many problems that come my way. Right? Systematic thinking. So don't take it lightly. Like, yes, there's a life outside of high school, but this is the last time in your life where your only job is to study for most people. It's the last opportunity, actually, to study and not have to pay for it. Like, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. The last opportunity. And I think when you are older and you realize learning the precious experience, then you have to do a hex. And nothing is ever free after you graduate. Yeah. Yeah. And look at it and you're like, oh, my interest. Ooh. So please make the most out of it. All right. Thank you.